Okay, good evening, everyone. You're welcome to our Young Techies cohort and our first class today, which is graphic design. I'm your tutor, IB Douglas, and I'm pretty excited to be here. I'm super excited to be able to share with you guys this knowledge in graphic design. I do not take it for granted, and I'm sure each and every one of you guys are going to have a great time. We are already. It's already 3:40, and we're going to be ending this class by 4:30. So I'm going to try as much as I can to introduce you guys to the basic things you need to know about graphic design, and after that, I will take your questions and answers. So if you have questions, do well to leave them in our message in the chat window there, so that once I'm done with the class, you can ask your questions. Hope that's fine. You could reply on the chat window so that you can start. All right, so without further ado, let's begin. So, in our today's lesson, I'm going to be teaching you guys graphic design fundamentals. Every single thing you need to know what graphic design is all about, what are the importance of graphic design, what are the benefits of graphic design, what are the system requirements you also need for graphic design or as a graphic designer, because it's very important that you have the right tools. If you do not have the right tools, you may not be able to achieve the certain things that you want, because each software that we're going to be using, or each software that you use in graphic design, has a specific system requirement that your system should meet. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of those things as well, and also inform you guys for. I'm also going to share with you guys some design terms. So that's basically what we'll be doing for today. So it's just more or less like an introductory session. So just like what I said before, this is the outline for today. What is graphic design? What is the importance of graphic design? Benefits, the roles of a graphic designer, system requirements, and some design terms. Then before we can now have our Q&A session. Okay, so if you can hear me, just drop in the chat window ready so I can start. If you can hear me and if you can see my screen, just type ready on the chat window so I can start. Okay, Williams. Okay, yes, Williams is ready. I'm waiting for Kristen. I'm waiting for Miriam. Okay, yes, we're ready. So I can begin. Okay, so first and foremost, what is graphic design? What is graphic design? Graphic design is the creation of visual compositions to solve problems and communicate ideas through the use of text, images, color, and form. And if you look at the examples written or the examples you're seeing here, these are examples of things that you can actually design with your system or your smartphone. Okay, so if you look at the examples below, we see flyers, see logos. There are so many things you can actually do, but to put it into a layman's understanding, graphic design is just simply the use of elements or design elements to actually pass a message. That's just it. So if you look at the examples below here, you can see some certain things, and don't worry about that. Don't be too surprised. You actually know how to do these things at the end of this cohort when we'll be doing our practical sessions. So that's basically it. So if you have questions, you could drop them at the chat window after I'll answer them. Okay, so the importance of graphic design. Graphic design helps to create a powerful impression. It's a powerful mode of communication, just like what I said when we were defining. I said graphic design, you use your it's the use of elements to actually communicate a message to your audience. Graphic design, it builds a unique identity for your brand. It indicates professionalism. It builds credibility. Basically, graphic design is, we see graphic design everywhere. We encounter graphic design everywhere. Whether it's our phones, whether it's our exercise books, whether it's even the lotion we use and all those things. You can see the stickers, you could see the logos, you could see your notebooks. Even the slide you are seeing here was all done with design, and it's basically something you see every day. So knowing the importance of how graphic design plays a major role in our society or in our world today, it's very, very vital. Okay, so let me move to the next thing. Benefits of graphic design: professionalism and consistency, identity and brand recognition, sorry, communication, increase sales and market position, build trust and goodwill. Now, for example, you want to start a business or you want to build a personal brand. If you want to be able to communicate with your audience, I know that one of the things we human beings we pay very much attention to is design. We're attracted to good design. We're attracted to visuals a lot. Images tend to stick more to our memory than just text alone. So if you want to market your business, I know for so many of us here who might want to start a business or who might have already started a business, most of us here we have WhatsApp. So you see when you're trying to market your business on your WhatsApp status, you know that you actually need a form of you actually need a medium by which you could present or pass whatever it is you're selling or market your products and services, and that's where graphic design plays a major role. So when we're talking about identity and brand recognition, we're talking about communication, talking about increased sales and market position, professionalism and consistency. That's actually the benefits of graphic design. So when you design your flyers and all that, being able to market yourself online will be an issue because people now actually see what it is you are selling, what are the products you are marketing, and how they can also reach you. So that's just it about the benefits of graphic design. So over to our next slide. Now, roles of graphic design. Now, graphic design is a general term. Graphic design is a very broad general name. So, I know definitely what I will say is when you are starting out as a graphic designer, you might start out generally, but later along the line, you will have to specialize. So that's actually why I said I need to show you guys different roles you could play as a graphic designer. I myself, I'm actually specializing, but when I started out, I was doing majorly everything, but I'm specializing. So I'm a brand identity designer. I'm a visual communication designer and I'm also a Canva coach. But don't worry, that's by the side. But you guys also learn that. So I had to specialize. Essence of specializing it's so that you could actually have your strength. You know this saying, "Jack of all trades, master of none." It's everywhere. So it's very important that in as much as you might know one or two things in every other role in graphic design, it's important that you specialize. Why should you specialize? So that people could know your audience or your market or your potential customers will know that okay, this is your area of strength and they can trust you in achieving that particular thing they would want you to do for them. So take for example brand identity design. If it's only brand identity design I am known for, people will trust me in it because they've seen my jobs in it, they've seen what I can do, they've seen some certain things, and they'll be able to give me whenever jobs concerning brand identity design comes in, they will give me that job. Why? Because I'm specialized in that particular area. That's my strength. But if they see that, okay, I'm claiming to be a brand identity designer, but they're not seeing any proof, they've not seen any job, they've not seen anything about what I'm doing, then there will be no trust simply because I'm not showing my work. But anyways, that's by the side. I will explain to you guys later along the course how to actually market yourself as a designer. So to not waste much of our time, roles of graphic design, we have visual communication designer, we have brand identity designer. I'm sure some of you must have seen some of these names before. Please, if I'm talking fast, please let me know in the chat window. Am I talking fast? Am I talking fast? Christian, Miriam, Williams, am I talking fast? I'm okay. Let me know in the chat window. This is an interactive session, so I want to make sure that I'm carrying everyone along. Am I talking too fast? Okay, Christian is raising your hand. You can drop a message on the chat window. Okay, I'm not too fast. Okay, Miriam said I'm not too fast. Okay, I'm okay. Christopher said I'm okay. Okay, okay. Queen said it's okay. Okay, all right, okay. So I just want to be sure that I'm not talking too fast so that I can continue. Okay, so I said roles of a graphic designer. These are things, actually, roles you can actually play in graphic design. You can be a visual communication designer, you can be a brand identity designer, you can be a creative director, you could be a user interface designer, you can be a user experience designer. Sorry, the user interface designer is also known as UI. I'm sure maybe you must have heard the term UI UX. So UI means user interface, UX means user experience. So these are also roles in graphic design. You can also be an illustrator. I'm sure some of you guys might have seen some illustrations anywhere, whether Instagram, Facebook. You might see some illustration. I'm sure you guys have heard of NFTs. So NFTs are basically digital designs. It could be pictures, it could be cartoons, it could be any of those things. So that's what I mean by illustration. You could be a production artist, you could be an art director, you could be a multimedia artist or animator. I'm sure you guys see all these movies when I'm sure you guys watch movies. Hope you guys are not too serious. Me, I watch movies. Don't mind me. So if you are watching a movie, you could see the starting of a movie, all these animations and all these production studios that come up with their motion graphics and all those things. Or in quotes, you could just put under that multimedia artist. Sorry, I didn't mention that you could put motion graphics. That's also part of graphic design. That's actually what I'm talking about. That's the last one, multimedia artist. You could also play that role. And each and every single one of these roles are very good. They are demanding, and I will advise it will be much, much better you specialize in one. Then if you actually want to learn another specialty, when you master that one, you can move to the next one and all that. That's what I would advise you to do. When I was starting out, I know I started generally, but I wasn't an illustrator. I wasn't a production artist. What I was just doing was visual communication. I was designing flyers. I was designing logos. But I now developed more interest in brand identity design, that's logo design and all that. And that's how I was now able to specialize in that. But I also do flyers sometimes um, just to build my strength in that. Okay, I know I didn't explain either of these roles, but that will also be part of your assignment at the end of the class. You just go online. Just these things are very easy. Just Google to know more about these roles. Just because of time, that's why I didn't explain any of them, so that we'll be able to finish and ask our questions. So at the end of this lesson, after your Q&A, in your own free time, just Google these roles and know more about them, know their benefits, and actually now you can actually now decide on what to do, maybe by the end of this cohort, whichever one you want to specialize in. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Now, system requirements for graphic design. This is very, very important. It is very, very important. A lot of designers have issues being able to achieve what they want, not because they don't know how to design, but because they are not using or they do not have the right system or the right tool to design. Now, the reason why I had to point this out is even myself too. When I started graphic design, I think then I was using a Core i3 system. But one of the things that I was having issues with was that I was using a very low RAM. Sorry, I was using a 4 gig RAM. So, when you're starting graphic design newly, you are not doing much. You're more or less like practicing for yourself and all that. So everything will be smooth, everything will be fast. But along the line, when you start getting jobs, when you start doing more jobs, when you start saving your files and all that, it's going to require more space. You're going to require more speed and flexibility for you to be able to do jobs quickly and achieve them at a faster rate. So that's why I said I have to point this out. So first and foremost, your OS should be at least Windows 10. I don't think anybody here is using Windows 8 or Windows 8.1. Or if you are planning on buying a system, I'm sure any system you want to buy now, at least it has a Windows 10 operating system. If you can afford a MacBook, that's the Mac OS here, no problem, that's fine. But if you can't afford a Mac OS, either of these systems, either HP or Dell or Asus. Sorry, I didn't put the brand names here. I did want to start talking about which one is much better, but each and every one of them are good in their own way. But for each of these brands I've mentioned to you, Dell, HP, Asus, or MacBook, but at least they should have an operating system of Windows 10 or Windows 11, 64-bit. Now, um, the meaning of OS, sorry, in case you might ask this question, the meaning of OS is operating system. That's what it means. Okay, so down to the CPU, which is your central processing unit. I'm sure you guys had that one in our primary. They taught us that one in primary school. Central processing unit. Bobo Tibo. So at least your CPU should have Intel Core i5 or Core i7 or higher. I'm sure you guys already know that there is Intel Core i9. And how you can actually know that your system has an Intel processor. If you notice, most of the systems you buy, whether it's HP or Dell, there's usually an Intel sticker um, at the beside the touchpad of your system. I don't know if you guys could actually, anyone can actually attest to that. You could put a hand wave if you can attest to that. Most of the systems that we buy, if there is an Intel processor inside, you might see a sticker. There will just be a sticker placed by the side of the touchpad. Can anyone testify to that? Williams, Kristen, have you guys seen that before? Can I get a hand wave if you've seen? Hello, are we here? Williams, are we here? Christian, are we here? Christopher, are we here? Okay, Christopher said he didn't get my question. So I was asking, I said, have you seen, I was just asking for you guys to confirm if you've seen systems that have the Intel stickers just by the side of the touchpads, the Intel stickers, that's Intel inside, whether it's Intel Core i3, Intel Core i5, Core i7. I'm just asking if you've seen things like that. Okay. So Christopher has confirmed he has seen. Okay, so yes. So I will advise, like what I wrote there, it's advisable that at least you should have, or if you have a system already, that's fine. But if you are planning on getting one, at least it should be an Intel Core i5, it should be an Intel Core i7 or Core i9. Now, I won't lie to you, these laptops with these particular specifications are pretty expensive if you are buying a brand new laptop, if it's brand new, but you could actually buy fairly used, or in Nigeria here, we call it London used. Okay, so you could actually buy London used laptops within this range, and the prices are not less than 50 something thousand. You could get it for 50 something, you could get it for 45, you could get it for 60, 70, depending from that Core i5 and above. So let's just say, give or take 50,000 and above, you should be able to get a system with these specifications. That's for the London use. But if you want to get a brand new system, we're talking for this particular specification, we're talking about maybe 200K, 150, no, yeah, 200K, 300, and all. It's pretty much expensive. So I will advise, if you don't have a system and you want to get one, if you can afford a brand new system, fine, you can do that. But if you can't, you can just go for um, the fairly used systems, which will still be able to help you achieve what you want. Okay, so the RAM, that's random access memory. You should use 8 gig. I won't recommend 4 gig because now most of the softwares that I'm going to be showing you guys, the Coral Draw, the Photoshop, they're actually updated softwares. They're not 2022 versions. No, I'm not going to use 2022 versions. I'm using 2020. Reasons being, I want every system that when I'll be installing or showing you guys how to install these softwares, I want to be sure that every system can carry it. So that's why I had to make sure that we use at least 2020, not X7, not CorelDRAW X7, not CorelDRAW X8, at least CorelDRAW 2020, Photoshop 2019. Those are the softwares we're going to use. Then I'm also going to be teaching you guys Canva. You don't need to learn how to install Canva. I will show you guys how to do that in our next class. Okay, so over to the hard drive. The HDD stands for hard disk drive. So your hard disk drive, or you can call it your internal storage in your laptop, just like your phone, it should be 500 gig or higher. Same thing too, when you are saving files, when you start downloading pictures, when you start downloading a lot of resources, you need a good a large storage to be able to um, carry these things that you're going to use. So it's not just only the software you're going to be using. You're going to be downloading some videos. You're going to be downloading stock photos. You're going to be downloading pictures, so many things and all that. So it's good you have a good space, even for you to keep your personal files like that and all that. Okay, so the next requirement is your GPU. So GPU stands for Graphic Processing Unit. And this is very, very important for your system because this is actually what helps your graphic design tools work well and smoothly. The Corel Draw that we're going to be installing, the Photoshop we're going to be installing, at least you don't need to be tech savvy to know these things. Just with these requirements, you could actually just, if you can, write them down. So whenever you're going to get a system, you could actually show the people who are actually selling these systems, okay, these are these requirements you want, and they can help you out with it. So for the GPU, you should use at least a minimum of 2 gig GPU memory with a compatible DirectX video processor. I don't want to bore you guys with the tech terms, but like I said, you don't have to be tech savvy to know these things. Just write them down, and when you go to the laptop store and all that, you show them the specifications. They will be able to guide you and show you which is best for you to use. Are we together? All right. So before I move on over to the next slide, just type "we move" if you are following on the chat window. You can type in the chat window "we move" if you can hear me and you are ready for the next slide. Okay. Okay. Queen says we move. Okay. I'm waiting for Christopher and Christian. Okay. Okay. So let me move over to the next. Okay, page already four. Okay, so we are moving to design terms, design terms, design terms. So as you can see, there are basic terms you need to know as a graphic designer. It's important. And I'm very, very super excited of this particular session because I know that in our next class, there are some terms I'll start mentioning to you guys. And because I know that after by the end of today, you guys will already know them. So we'll start talking graphic design terms. Just like any other specialty or any other professional skill, they all have their design terms. A lawyer has his or her own terms. Video editors, they have their own terms. Engineers, they have their own terms. The same thing in graphic design. There are also certain terms you need to know. There are certain terms you need to that you're also going to encounter and you're also going to use along the line as a graphic designer. I know that most of them are there. This is just like a mini presentation of some of these terms you are going to learn about. So in our next slide, I'll be moving to an actual site where I'm going to explain each and every single one of these design terms. And I will also be posting the link on our Slack channel after the class so that you could also go through it and also keep it as one of the resources that I'll be sharing with you guys in our class. So it's actually a Canva resource file. It's very, very wonderful. And I'll be moving over to it. So let me stop sharing the screen and I will share that particular tab with you guys now. Okay, so if you can see my screen, type yes. If you can see my screen, if you can see the new tab I just opened, type yes. Okay, Williams, okay. I have others who are here, but I can't, they're not participating. Christian, I've not heard you. You've not said anything since. Are you with us, Christian? Okay, Queen, okay, Miriam, Christopher. Christian hasn't said anything. I hope he's not having network issues. Okay, so I think since I've confirmed 3 yeses, let me continue. Okay, so over to this site. This is actually a Canva resource file. 50 design terms explained simply for non-designers. So it's for non-designers. It's also for graphic designers. For each and every one of us here who is new to graphic design. So I'm not going to go through all the 50. I might just go through 10 or 12. It's already 8 minutes past 4, so that I will give room for the Q&A session. Okay, so over to our first. So I'll just go with the introduction. Getting thrown into the world of graphic design can sometimes feel like learning a new language. Let's take a look at 50 commonly used design words, shall we? Okay, so the first one, I don't want to bore you guys with the other write up. You can read that later. So the first one is typography. Typography. Now, typography is the artistic arrangement of type in a readable and visually appealing way. I'm sure you guys must have seen these things before, but maybe you did not know the name. Some of us might call it write up. Some of us might call it text. Some of us might call it font. I don't know. What do you guys call it? I want us to drop um, I want us to answer that in our chat window. What were you guys calling this before you knew it was typography? I'm sure some of you guys will say write up or text. What were you guys calling it? You can drop yours on the chat window. Before you knew that this was typography, all these things, all the text and everything we are saying was typography. What were you calling it? Were you calling it text? Were you calling it, okay, Queen says text. Okay, who else? Okay, everybody is saying text. Nobody, okay, font. Christopher, Maoga. Font. That means you already have an idea of what graphic design is. Oh. This one you even knew fonts. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. That's nice. So I'm glad. I'm glad at least you guys have an idea. So the graphic design term is typography. Could actually call it font, but typography is actually the general name. Font is actually the particular typeface you are using. But along the line, you will know that. Okay. So in typography, there are specific terms that you would need to know in typography when it comes to text. You can see this image here. So later you might just study it and just have an idea of what it means. But I think also along the design terms, you might also know some of these things as we progress. Sorry, in the design terms. Okay, so the next one is body copy. Body copy is the main part of your text in your design or publication. This one, we see it everywhere, both in magazines, newspapers, websites. You will definitely see a headline a headline. Then you now start seeing the body. That's the write up, if you want to call it write up or text or whatever. It said the written website contents, the book contents, even this type you are reading now, it's all body copy. So just like what they said. So this is a pictorial example of what we're talking about, the body copy. All right. So the next one is display type. Now, display type is a type that is designed with the objective of attracting attention. Think of movie titles on posters, article titles in magazines, newspapers, headlines. I'm sure you guys have seen most of these things before. This text looks like the one they used in Boss Baby. Who can testify to that? All right, so you can see a display text used here by the side of the picture illustration going long with a safety net. Wow, I like this illustration and I like the text they used here. So To just add a little to what they said here. So display type, these are not text that you use in your body, just like what they said in the description here. These are fonts or text that you use to attract your audience. So that's like the big thing. For example, you guys must have seen, okay, for the, I think, let me throw this question out. When you guys saw the Young Techies cohort flyer, which one do you actually think was the display type used in the flyer? I want us to drop our answers in the chat window. When you guys saw the Young Techies flyer, which one do you think is the display type there? Which particular text was used as a display type in the flyer? If you can answer, just drop it in the chat window. Let me be sure if we actually understand what I was saying. Anybody? Or should I give Expo? No, I'm not giving Expo. You guys are smart people, so I know you know. Who can tell me amongst, or I don't want to show the design, or should I show the design for you guys to know to know which one is the display? Okay, Christopher said Young Techies. I want everybody to answer before I confirm. Christopher said Young Techies. Miriam, Queen, I'm waiting for you. Kristen, in our Young Techies cohort flyer, which one was used as the display type? Which one do you actually feel was the display type there? Christopher said Young Techies. I want another person. Okay, Miriam says we should show the design. Miriam said we should show the design. Okay, I want another person. So I think maybe I might show the design. Any other person? Okay, for the sake of Miriam, I'm going to show the design. I'm going to show the design. So just permit me, let me open a tab for that. Just hold on a little bit. Having a little bit of network challenge here, but it's a little bit slow. Okay. Okay. So we're having a little bit of network challenge. So I think I'll just continue. But just to let all of you know, basically what was used, Christopher was right. Miriam, I'll show you the design later. I'm having a little bit of network challenge opening it up. But the display type used in our Young Techies cohort was the Young Techies itself. If you actually look at the Young Techies design, I think after the you can check the Slack channel, Miriam. You could check the Slack channel. I think the display picture on our Slack channel has a flyer. Is a flyer, right? Okay. Or maybe after, okay, maybe after you could actually check in the Slack channel after to see the design. So if you look at the design of, if you look at our Young Techies design, the Young Techies text was actually the display text, simply because that's the center of attraction. That's actually what I did to make sure that I attract people to see that one first before you could now read the body of the text and all that. Sorry, I wasn't able to show that design now simply because of some network challenges, but you guys can see that maybe after the end of the class or once I open it, I will share it with you guys. Okay, so let's move to the next one, hierarchy. Now, hierarchy is the visual arrangement of design elements in a way that signifies importance. For example, you might take a title big and bold. Sorry. For example, you might make a title big and bold to ensure it attracts more attention than a small, lightly colored image caption. Um, for example, yeah, you could actually see this storybook or this magazine where hierarchy was introduced. So you could look at if you look at the level one headings where the road plan design dives into the Athabasca oil sands, tailings ponds, and all that. You could see how each of these texts have different sizes. That's actually how hierarchy is being applied. So you start with the one you want your audience to see first, then over to the next one, then the next one. That's basically how it is. So it's just from high to low. So the bigger text, the medium text, the smaller text, that's just basically what hierarchy is. And it's important to actually know how to use hierarchy. So when you are making designs, whether it's a flyer you're designing, a magazine, a poster, whatever, you'll be able to know which one to apply, make bolder. That's the one you want to make more visible, or you one you want your audience to be more attracted to first. Just like that. It's just a way of guiding your audience on whatever it is you want them to read first. That's basically what hierarchy is. Not too much grammar about it, Sha. Okay. So the next one is kerning. So kerning is the adjustment of space between two characters in your type. Kerning is a common design term and it usually aims to achieve a more proportional and pleasing balance of space between each character. So this is kerning. Kerning is just basically spacing your characters or your letters in a text. If you look at this example here, you will see the text wave. Without kerning, you can actually see the spacing, and with kerning, you can actually see the difference here. Um, you might not really see. Okay, yes, you might. I wish. Okay, you can actually see if you look at the first one here without kerning. If you look at the spacing between letters A and V without kerning, you could actually see that the space there is a little much. It's much compared to the one where kerning was applied. You could see that with kerning, the spaces are evenly distributed between the text. You understand? So most times it might not also be the fault of the designer. Most of these fonts, I think to I think I was saying this to Christopher when I was asking. He said fonts. I said, yeah, font is just part of the things you know in typography. So some default fonts in your system when we start learning or when you start designing, there are some fonts that their kerning are not evenly distributed. So most of the time, or maybe sometimes, as a designer, you might tend to also adjust the spacing. But I will advise, if you really do not understand how to kern your text, please don't do it, because sometimes if you don't know how to do it, you might end up even spoiling the beauty of how the text is. So it's very, very important before you kern, just make sure that you understand how to evenly distribute the space. Don't worry, actually, Sha, when we start doing the practicals, I will explain to you guys when you can actually kern a text, when a text needs to be kerned and when it doesn't need to be kerned. So I don't want to bore you guys with that. Okay, over to the next one. Sorry if you're following, please just type I'm with you, sir. If you're following, just type I'm with you. We'll soon be rounding up. We just have 10 minutes more. Okay, Miriam, okay, Queen has confirmed. Okay, Christopher, how about you? Okay, you're with me. Okay, that's fine, that's good. Okay, so over to the next one is leading. It's pronounced leading, not leading, please. Leading. So leading refers to the space between lines of type. Now I'm sure you guys, like I said, that's one of the beauty of graphic design. Most of these things we see them every day, but it's just that we didn't actually know that these things matter. We didn't actually know that these are terms that we're going to encounter or even know. So now that you guys are actually learning these things, I'm sure that when you go back home now, you start knowing, okay, which text has been kerned. you start knowing, okay, which one was leading applied, which one was tracking applied. I think that will also be part of your own personal assignment. I want you guys to do that in your free time. So leading is just basically the spacing between lines of type. It says overly tight leading can cause tension and overlapping, also making the content unreadable. I'm sure each and every one of us, even if you are not a graphic designer, you already know, you can be able to know when a body text is properly distributed and when it's not properly distributed. You can see these two examples here, the loose leading and the tight leading. Between the loose leading and the tight leading, which one is more visible to read? Which one is more pleasant to read? You already know the answer is the loose leading. You can see how the space between each of these sentences or each of these lines were evenly distributed. Now, you can see that you can actually comfortably read this with regards, and also when you now compare it with the second one, you see how tight it is. Everything is clustered, so it doesn't even look clean. It's not even neat. In fact, you wouldn't even want to read it. So that's just basically what leading is: being able to space the lines between your text. That is leading. So I'm sure we'll be able to, by the end of this class, we're able to differentiate what leading is, what kerning is, and have we spoken about tracking? Okay, yes, that's the next thing, sir. I said I was going to show you guys. Tracking. Okay, so tracking basically concerns the space between letters. Now, do not confuse tracking with kerning. I will explain. Tracking concerns the space between letters. When we track bodies of text, we are adjusting space between every letter in a word in order to change the density or appearance of a large block of type. Let me not bore you guys with the too much grammar there. Look at the example, look at the pictorial view there. Look at loose tracking, look at tight tracking. Between the loose tracking and the tight tracking, you can actually see which one is more appealing. Now, I will only permit you guys to track. See, there's something here I want you guys to take note of. It said tracking shouldn't be confused with kerning. This is something I said I was going to explain. Tracking shouldn't be confused with kerning, which concerns the adjustment of space between individual pairs of letters. Now, kerning, if we're talking about, let's go back to kerning. I want you guys to see what I'm talking about. Kerning is the adjustment of space between each letter, while tracking is the adjustment of space between every. How am I going to explain this thing now? How am I going to explain it? Okay, let me just explain it this way. Let me not use too much grammar. The spacing, when we're talking about tracking, the spacing between each of these letters are equal. When we're talking about kerning, the spacing between each of those letters might not be equal or evenly distributed. That's just what it means. And if you might have a question. Okay, how do we track? How do we kern? How do we apply this tracking? How do we apply this kerning? I will show you guys when we actually start learning. When I start teaching you guys Canva, CorelDRAW, and Photoshop, you guys will actually know when these things can be applied. So sit tight, don't worry. Those your questions will be answered. But just take note of the difference between it and know these terms so that when we start learning, it will be easier for you guys to flow when we're teaching. Okay, so we're running out of time. I think I will just stop at this is already 4:25. We just have 5 minutes. So I think I'm going to stop here. I'm very, very sorry I wasn't able to exhaust everything. We have over 50 design terms here. But that's why I said I was going to share the resource link after the end of the class so that we can go back and go through them. Then also you can also feel free to ask your questions in our individual Slack channel. I'll be there to answer them for you. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate. So I'll be giving room now for the question and answer session. I'll stop sharing the screen now. If you have any question, feel free to ask before we could call it a day. Any question or any contribution? or any feedback on today's lesson? Miriam, any question? Christopher, any question? Queen, do we have any question? Okay, feel free to ask me. Okay, okay. So I was saying, okay, I said the tracking and the kerning, they are similar, but they are totally different. So I said I wouldn't want to confuse you guys, but I said, okay, that um, kerning, it's basically the spacing of characters. What do I mean by characters? Whether it's letters or numbers in a particular word. Kerning is just the spacing of characters, right? While tracking is the spacing of characters evenly. So let me go back to that particular this thing. Let me show you guys a pictorial this thing. Let me share my screen and go back to it so that I can answer that question properly. I want you guys to see what I mean. Can you see my screen? Confirm if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Miriam, can you see my screen? Queen, can you see my screen? I think you were the one that asked the question. Okay. So I'm going to that place now. You asked the question between kerning. Okay, so it was kerning and tracking I was talking about, not leading. Well, leading is the spacing between lines. Now this is kerning. Is the adjustment of space between two characters in your type. So if you look at this one here, if you look at the first one, that's wave. Look at this first one without kerning. Look at the spacing between them. Now, if you look at the letters A and V, the space between letters A and V, it's wider than the space between letters V and E. I'm talking about the without kerning section. That's the one at the left. Now, if we now go to the one that has with kerning, you see how the space between A and V was now properly adjusted to have an even space between the four letters. Can you see that? Can you see that, Queen? Okay. So basically, kerning is just the adjustment of space between two characters in your word. It's just the adjustment of space between two characters, just two. While tracking is the adjustment of space between the entire characters or letters. So you're not just only spacing two characters, you are spacing everything. So all the characters are evenly distributed. I'm sorry, I don't think I explained that properly when I was teaching, but I think I've been able to say that. Do you understand? Is it clear, or I should still repeat? It's clear now. It's clear now, right? Okay. Okay, okay. Very good, very good. Thank you. Okay, do we have any other question? I think I will stop sharing this now. Do we have any other question? Christopher, any question? Okay, Miriam says no question. Okay, so we have successfully come to the end of our cohort session for the graphic design. I really want to thank each and every one of you for joining. I know this is not all of us, so we are much. I know that there are a lot of persons who signed up for graphic design, but it's only 4 persons or 3 persons that joined today. But it's well, maybe other persons had one or two things or the other. So we'll be continuing our class same time tomorrow. Yes, yes, Miriam, I will share the link. The link will be shared on our WhatsApp group and Slack channel group. The link will be shared. I said that earlier. The link will be shared, Miriam. So I'll be dropping the link there. On failing it, after now, you'll see the link on the WhatsApp group and Slack channel. I'll send it there so you guys can actually go through those design terms. So I will share it. Okay, so we have successfully come to the end of our class today. We will continue same time, 3:30 to 4:30 tomorrow being Friday. Please, I will advise each and every one of you to join the link on time so that we can be able to finish on time and as well ask questions. Okay, thank you so much and do have a lovely evening. Bye.